Alright, what's up guys? It's David here from Airflo Rails. I just have a few questions to you guys, to the customers, to my customer base, to people who have used Airflo Rails. I think this is a good idea, bad idea. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do this yet. I'm leaning towards doing it. I think it's going to be a great idea. But basically what I'm going to be doing, basically what I'm going to be doing is it's come to my attention that a lot of people are telling me that their Rails are rusting, which I clearly explain in the FAQ page on the website. If anybody emails me, "Yo, dude, my Rail has rusted. What should I do?" which happens, I swear to God, on a daily basis, I clearly tell them to check the FAQ page, and I tell them what I would do, and what I do, what I do to all my Rails before they're shipped out. What I do is I use steel wool, and you can use a fine grit sandpaper as well as paint thinner, and I tell everyone that, and for some reason people look at me like I have four heads, like, "You want me to rub my rail with steel wool? What are you thinking? You should have already done that." The thing is that I do that, and I clean and polish all the metals before I ship them out. But the thing is that it's when the temperature changes of the metal, any kind of metal. This is with iron, this is with, the only thing it doesn't happen with is stainless steel, and the welder I have doesn't weld stainless steel, and stainless steel is an extremely hard material to work with. I've used it before, and it's not the greatest. It's as shiny and nice as it looks, it's not worth all the hassle, in my opinion, and not to mention I wouldn't be able to weld it. So if I did make stainless steel Rails, the welder I just bought would be a complete waste of money, and I'd be JB welding, and nobody wants any of that. So this is what I'm thinking of doing. I'd be thinking of selling the kits with like a low grit sandpaper, like something in the 150 to 200 grit, which is really fine. It's like per square inch there's 100 grits of sand, or 200 grits of sand, depending on what grit I would get. Now, I do this before I send the Rails out there. People probably say, "Why aren't you doing it?" Well, I do that, but by the time that it gets to you, say I ship to Virginia, between where the mail is going in the 2 or 3 day process to Virginia, the metal undergoes a chemical change due to the air, and it actually corrodes. Now this can happen with Black River Rails, and there's nothing wrong with Black River. I support that company. I have Rails like their stair set rail. I have an old school pole jam. They're all great, but they all get corroded, and and it's nothing that's unfixable. I'm not dissing Black River. Once again, I love the company personally, but I'm a big supporter. I've met the whole team. I've met the owner. I've met Winkler. I've met everybody, and they're all really great guys. I commend what they're doing to the fingerboarding scene. But that doesn't not say the fact that their rails can still rust. It doesn't mean it's a bad product. They get corroded. If you guys can see, where's that? Anyway, I have a pole jam somewhere from them that's corroded, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just got to get a little bit of steel wool, rub it on it, and it's shiny and brand new again, and it slides like butter once you do that. But if I sit it in my room for a couple days, the temperature basically corrodes at the metal, and you're left with a residue similar to it oxidizes. That's what I'm looking for. It oxidizes on them. This can happen to steel. The only difference is with steel is it becomes more of a rust, and it's usually 9.9 times out of 10 it's surface rust every single time. All you have to do to fix this is just get a little bit of steel wool, rub it on, and you'll be good to go. But once again, people act like I'm nuts when I talk about this, and my camera's about to shut off, so I'm going to film a part 2 to this video, and I'll be right back. Alright guys? Alright, sorry about that. So basically, what I'm thinking about doing is creating a kit that you could buy with probably a low grit sandpaper, like I said, and I just started doing that recently. I have these sanding pads that have foam attached to the back. They're a really low grit, or a high grit, I guess I would say, is very fine, and I just lightly sand, because if you sand it too much, you'll actually scratch the metal, and it doesn't do a very good job of what you're trying to do with it. If you do a light coat sand with it, I've found that it makes the rails very shiny, very smooth, and they grind very well. and then I just take a little bit of steel wool over top of that, and that kind of protects the finish a little bit. Now, not if you sit it in your damp basement, not damp basement, but damp basement, then yes, it can still rust. And to be honest with you, that's where my park, one of my parks is, and I have a couple rails that I made, airflow rails, on the park, just like flat bars and stuff like that. And yes, after about a month and a half, they rust. What do? Get a little bit of steel wool. Don't even sand it. I just get a little bit of steel wool, and it's good to go, good as new. But this will happen. I'm telling everyone up front this is going to happen. I'm not going to say, oh, these never rust, you're stupid. No, they do rust. But that's the thing. That can happen to Black River rails. Now my whales are welded. My rails are welded. They're much stronger. I do make sure before I send everyone out that the weld is actually penetrated and there was the correct amount of current flowing through. So, and I do a bend test on it to make sure, not a bend, I don't actually bend the metal, but I try to stress it to a point to make sure it doesn't break. And if it doesn't break, then I send the order out. If it does break, which rarely ever happens, I've only had it happen once, and that's because I didn't have the amperage set correctly on my machine. But if it does happen, I re-weld it with the correct amount of amps, and I send out the product after it's all painted and everything. But regardless of that fact, the metal can still rust. Whether it's welded, JB welded, it can happen with anything. Which is why I am going to possibly sell these kits. No, I wouldn't sell them for much money. I'm looking to buy basically a couple sheets of sandpaper, a couple sheets of steel wool, and I'd give you a very small piece, probably a piece of sandpaper about that big. If you want a size comparison, fingerboard, so hold on, about that big compared to a fingerboard. If you saw that, here's a 37mm lens cap. It's about that big. Anyway, it'd probably be like 6 by like 3 inches or something, and I'd sell a piece of steel wool like that could last you a while. And if I did all that, it would probably be $1 or $2 more than what I had in it, which would probably end up being like $2 or $3 for the kit, possibly towards $2. And then I'll have an option where you can just add it to like a rail purchase. If you're purchasing a rail and you want to say, hey, up front, say, hey, I want to, get one of these. I won't add any shipping or anything to that, so I'll just be like $2 or $3 or whatever it costs once I figure that out. But if you guys think that's a good idea, you should just let me know. So other than that, yeah, just let me know. I'm still going to make a video on how to treat rust, because there's a couple different ways you can do it. There's a couple different ways that I do it depending on what I do, what the situation is, what's rusted. But so yeah, just if you guys think that's a good idea, just let me know. Other than that, thanks for watching. Keep making videos and keep subscribing. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy.